Alrighty. As I say in the title, we've got a couple videos to make. Definitely one, but possibly two. The video that I'm looking at now, I might watch the whole thing. I probably will. Basically going to be on Cracker Barrel. I got a couple things to say, and then we'll maybe watch the video from the start. And then I've got some legal mindset video about Destiny's latest stuff. I already scrolled through a little bit of this video, but it just gives a better overview of the things that I talked about in my previous video, alongside addressing some potential issues that I might have gotten wrong in my last video, being a non-legal expert. Okie dokie, so let's get into it.
For a while, Julie Fels Massino, why, simple question to everybody, why is it always white women?
This is a good question. Now, the answer to this is actually, I think, a little bit interesting. Now, obviously, this is my opinion, and it's backed up by evidence, and it's definitely correct. The reason why it is white women as opposed to black women or other women, these types of things, is that the people who have come up, possibly this Julie Fels Massino, as evidenced by the fact that this person has a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Generally speaking, not the kind of degree from a university that would make one think, oh, future CEO material, okay? Also, like a Kathleen Kennedy. These types of people who are now in these positions of power that are all white women who are ruining things, essentially got there not through their own merit, but basically by being in the right place at the right time. Kathleen Kennedy latches on to a Steven Spielberg, a George Lucas, and basically does nothing. Doesn't rock the boat, doesn't screw anything up, but also doesn't really actually have any legitimate creative input. You know, they don't actually make any decisions that are hard and difficult and make things better or worse. They do have some degree of power. Like Kathleen Kennedy definitely did make some production decisions. I'm sure she did. She must have, because she got credits for all of these movies. But it is absolutely insane to say that, yeah, she was a driving creative force behind any of these projects, behind any of these brands, and she made them, she never had a make or break decision for them. No, not the case. But she's able to build a resume over an enormous career with people that are actually talented, driven, creative, powerful presences in these spheres of business. Okay? And then what happens is they basically get to a point where the person that they were riding the coattails of retires, goes away, or, is just like, I'm not going to be doing as much anymore. My legacy is secure. We're good. I'm going to step away. Well, now that person's meal ticket is gone. So what happens? Well, they've got to scramble for a new position. And they've got an incredible resume. They've got an amazing resume that says, look, I was a producer on Star Wars, on Indiana Jones, on all of these incredible, fantastic properties. All right. This person's, got an enormous amount of stuff. Professional career and corporate positions at a variety of retail. Godiva, Coach, J. Crew, Macy's, president of Taco Bell. All of these incredible accomplishments are accrued, but they were never earned. They were never earned in a way that, someone else who came from nothing or who came from a position where they actually had to build it on their own backs. That never happened, but they have this incredible resume. So they can shop it around to other people who are, looking for positions. So your Bob Iger comes around and goes, okay, well, who are we going to have to helm the Star Wars project? Well, hell, Kathleen Kennedy can say, hey, look at my resume. I've got all of these producer credits. Clearly, okay, well, that person clearly knows how to make a movie. That's a good deal. And then they know George Lucas and they go, okay, well, she never screwed me. So yeah, that sounds great. And then you get something where, okay, the property is ruined. The property is ruined because this person never actually had the ability to helm this stuff, and also probably had no real legitimate connection to it. They didn't have any love for the property that, transcended their desire to make money or have a, position. They basically just, did what they had done before, which is, they kind of just weasel around. They don't really do anything important. And unfortunately, when you're at the helm of something that is in crisis, like a Cracker Barrel, or you're at the helm of something that's trying to make new creative enterprise, like a Star Wars, your decisions actually can make or break the property. So things can go way up, things can go way down. And in the cases of these people, these white women, they broke the property. Now, as to why they are white women, in all honesty, I think it's because most of these people probably came up in, like, let's say the 70s. Certainly Kathleen Kennedy comes up in the 70s, I think. Jaws, Steven Spielberg stuff. Yeah, he started out in like the 70s, I believe, and maybe a little bit earlier. And anyway, he is then, like they are in an era where in which all of the people that are in, the top studio exec positions are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. They grew up in an era of real legitimate racism. Racism and sexism, you know, a good portion of their career happens before the civil rights movement. And then, during the civil rights movement, they have some stuff in there, they have some changes. And now that they're past the civil rights movement, but they're, still culturally a product of this earlier time where in which racism and sexism definitely would have actually impacted hiring decisions because they're Hollywood executives. They think they're being very progressive by allowing a woman to have a production position and have, actual like creative control to some degree over these products. They're being very progressive. But why are they white women? Well, because, you can't go too far. These people would have been like, okay, well, like, we can have a woman and we're really, we're being very generous and progressive. We're being very forward thinking here. Okay, well, what about this black woman? Okay, come on. I mean, that's a bridge too far. That's a bridge too far. Now, again, what does that mean? It basically means that for right or wrong, better or worse, the people that are in these positions now that are ruining these brands got there because, they didn't earn it necessarily. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this Julie Fellows Messino is actually an incredible corporate titan. Doesn't seem like it because she's not producing the results that an incredible corporate titan would, produce. But certainly a Kathleen Kennedy, we can say, no, this person did not earn this on her own back. And basically, they all happen to be white just because, that was the culture where in which they came up in. Now, 10 years down the line, if this stuff was still happening and we were still going to be hiring people based on, some other like race or ethnicity based things, and we were going to be putting people that are unearned, and you know what, this person's not tried and tested, we're going to put them in charge of $1 billion brand, then you'd have a lot of probably, black women, men, Asian women, all races, colors, and creeds 10 years down the line. It's just that white women were kind of like the first people to see benefits from the civil rights movement in a lot of these areas. Okay. And that's why, you know, all of these white women that are now in corporate, executive positions are ruining stuff. If, 5 years down the line, they were still allowed to do that, and the people who are even higher than them were, deciding who gets to be, the CEO of Taco Bell or Cracker Barrel or whatever. If they hadn't had this initial inoculation against putting incompetent people in charge, and they're like, okay, now we're only going to put people in who we know have an incredibly proven track record and are definitely going to make good decisions, you would probably have seen a long, large list of non white women, of, every other, again, minority, ethnicity, whatever, put in charge of these things, and, they'd be ruining it. But I don't think we're going to see that now. It's essentially only white women who are doing these things because they were just in, the right place at the right time. And now they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They're put in charge of things that they can't really actually do. They're not fit for the job. But they weren't, nobody could tell. And that is why I think it's white women. It's just a factor of, kind of the era they came up in and the fact that they were not ever capable, but now is the only time we're seeing it. That'd be my guess. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll say farewell for now. And I should have hit record on that, but I didn't. Fuck. Oh well. All right.
Because they're a plague. That is the correct answer. Blabs, do you have an answer for that? Why is it always the white woman who's changing everything?
I mean, I don't really think that's the case. You can look at Disney, right? CEO Bob Iger absolutely fucked it all up, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really agree with that. Although I could just probably say
Although certainly would say, Bob Iger puts, Kathleen Kennedy in charge.
if we wanted to agree with your statement, it could just be empathy,
Hello, fellow white women.
abusive empathy. Yeah.
Okay, so allow me to counter that and say, when you we've talked about empathy quite a bit, but behind every for your Bob Iger, I'll show you a Kathleen Kennedy.
But Bob agrees with everything. He's the top, so it's not like
You're right.
they're the same at all. She's below him.
It's also
so many
safe
ways.
to blame white women instead of,
Very true.
looking into things.
Well,
That's accurate.
she's the top of the food chain here when it comes to this, but they've also had a number of different initiatives at Cracker Barrel here. This is something that, hey, it's important to talk about these things, including inclusion at
Culture
Cracker Barrel.
and belonging.
That's right.
See, I was
Yeah. So this is in contrast to the, Crackle Barrel didn't go woke. It just went broke from Reason Magazine. Yeah. So it's like, hey, man, like this new stuff, it's not going woke. Well, according to this is clearly, inclusion, equity, diversity, these types of things. It's in there. It's in there. That is probably what we're trying to do here. It's not to say that it's the only reason this stuff is bad. This stuff, the new, what do we call it? The new logo is bad, not entirely because it's woke, although the wokeness kind of goes semi hand in hand, because the wokeness now is sort of like a corporate theme. Like DEI, there are DEI initiatives in every single corporation. Okay. They've been kind of cut back because of, after Trump, people go, okay, people don't really want this. We're in this to make money. If they don't want it, we're not going to do it. But a lot of those people who, got hired because of those initiatives and these things, they're still employed there. And I think some of them really believe it or were brainwashed into believing it. And therefore, this new logo does have some of that, DEI initiative stuff in its DNA. And a lot of what that, DEI stuff is that you can't really look at any of these things and see them without some sort of lens of like oppression or the bad parts of history and these things. And therefore, the only way to make it to have a new corporate logo, to have a new kind of initiative, is to basically blandify it, to make it as non-threatening as possible. We're looking at this from every possible perspective, and you could look at this and you could go, oh God, there could be someone who sees this old timer and these types of things. They could think of slavery and racism and the South and bad things like that. So we have to get rid of that. Okay, well, do we change this and make it like an old black guy? Well, no, that could be racist. That could be bad. That could be offensive to somebody. Okay, well, can we make it like a woman? No, that could be bad. Okay, so then what do we do? But we basically have to eliminate every possible way this could be offensive to someone. And the only way to do that is to make it super, super bland and non threatening. And it basically makes it boring. It makes it boring to everyone involved. And it makes everything bland. And I don't think they have a picture in here of like the inside of the new Cracker Barrels, but they're just, yeah, they're just bland, corporate. There's nothing of character in them whatsoever. And the reason why there's no character there is because they're trying desperately to make sure that there's nothing anyone can latch onto and say, this is racist, this is offensive, this is, this is bad, and it will get you bad publicity. And it just means that, okay, well, that's fine, except it is boring and bland and nobody really cares and wants to go there. And that's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to bring in a new audience by eliminating anything that could possibly be interesting to anybody. So you're not going to get a new you're not going to get a new audience, and changing this stuff also eliminates your old audience. Eliminates the people that liked the things because they'd grown up with it, they'd gotten attached to it. That's gone now. It's all gone. So your stock price is going to go even further down the line. Now let me actually can I restart this? I'm going to actually restart this because maybe some of this is in here.
The big news today.
Big news.
Yes, the big news is Cracker Barrel. As the Cracker Barrel stock has effectively tanked after they have moved away from this sweet old-fashioned logo over here.
Good fire women.
Yes, to this horrendous modern take on the logo here. Bland, boring, bleh, right?
Yeah.
Just removing the old man and the actual barrel. It would say the cracker and the barrel, if you will. They just straight up, they're removing everything that everybody loves about Cracker Barrel. And it doesn't stop with the logo here. People are not happy about this. We've seen this many, many times. Over the last few years, this modernization of classic logos here. I believe you had a slide pulled up, Phoenix.
You ready? Ready to go?
Fire away. What do we
Here's
got?
the first one.
Yeah.
You can see.
And I mean, a lot of this has to do with, making things like easier to print, making things, like they're trying to make them more iconic, make them again like just simpler, more digestible. And the way in which they did this is to simplify them beyond the point of elegance, beyond the point of like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what we want it to be. All of the unnecessary elements have been stripped away, and we're left with a perfect encapsulation of what we want it to be. But there's still detail there because that detail needs to be there. And that is the difference. These other ones, like you look at the WB and then you go to this WB. It's so simple, it's forgettable. It's not elegant, it's simple. It's simplistic. And it feels throwaway. It feels unweighty. It feels unsubstantial. And that basically means that, okay, now no one really cares about it. And now maybe this has something to do with, print technology somehow getting worse. Maybe people, like the artists who are making like logos and designers and these types of things are less talented, less capable of making them now. And therefore the only thing they can make is the more simplified versions of these things. Maybe it's because, they don't have, drawing skills or something like that. And therefore, everything that they make has to be makeable in Photoshop easily. It has to be able to be constructed in some computer program as opposed to, drawn out with, pencil beforehand. That's a possibility. But it's not new. And there is, again, with all of these things, all of these companies, the possibility that the, marketing team basically got cleaned out of all the old guys who, were like the Mad Men era people who were, smacking women on the ass. but had incredible like drawing, marketing, graphic design talent. They all got axed because they were, old guys who were, somehow inappropriate. And now that whole well of talent and expertise is gone. And, it's not that we did this because we wanted to make this kind of crappier and simplistic. It's because this is the best we could do with the talent we had. That's a real legitimate possibility. Seriously.
The Burberry over here, even Pfizer of all companies, the various changes of logos here, the refresh. Subway got a new look. We got Warner Brothers just getting rid of that beautiful gold in favor for a, I guess, quote unquote, clean white.
I hate globo homo.
Globo homo, huh?
Yeah, global homogenization is what that stands for.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Well, Cracker Barrel is indeed a global homo now. And the biggest global homo has to be their CEO, because she appeared on Good Morning America to justify this. Because when
those glasses are a red flag.
Ooh, boy, are they.
They're so bad because if you look at her LinkedIn, she looks nothing like those glasses. Like whoever fitted those frames should be fired. Terrible.
Ugh.
Well, somebody who
I
has
hope
glasses
mine are
like
okay.
that, I will tell you, yes, they are awful.
Yeah.
But here she was on Good Morning America justifying the change here.
It's because of it's because of this element right here, the little like extra kind of cat eye-ness, the cat's eye sort of stuff going on. The fact that the frame down here is a little bit lowered. It's to make it pop a little bit more. And yeah, these are not the worst. These are not the worst example. The worst example, let's see if we can find it actually. It is, I'll show it to you very quickly. Let's see if we can find it. I think you know where I'm going with this. It's the trigonometry lady. My God, these were so bad. Let's see if we can find her. She's in here. I don't know if we'll find her quickly. She's definitely in here though. Yeah, this one. These glasses. Look at these. Look at this. This is like, in a sense, these are horrific, right? These kind of glasses right here, these are so bad. These are so awful. But also, they're incredible. They're also fantastic. They're also wonderful and beautiful, and I love them. Because these exact kind of glasses are exactly like the brightest color, the brightest neon pink warning sign from a poison dart frog. Get away from me. I am super insanely poisonous. You want nothing to do with me. I will ruin your day, your month, your week, your life if you come into any contact with me. And you know what? I love it. And I go, great, awesome, fantastic. I will steer widely clear of you. These glasses are exactly that. And you go, oh, okay, perfect. I can make my life infinitely easier by avoiding every single person with glasses like this. I will lose nothing. I will only gain time, patience, and energy by avoiding all of those people. These are a little bit more, take it or leave it. You're not sure. Probably, like you could avoid everyone wearing these types of glasses and you'd be okay. You'd be justified. You would probably come out okay, but you might miss out on something because these are not too bad. These are not too crazy. They're not great. They're not too bad.
Things I want you to take note of as we're watching this. Watch her justification of why people love this, and then watch Michael Strahan, who is the host, his response to what
Why people love this? Their stock tanked. What does she mean?
Yeah.
This was before the stock tanked. They went on good.
Now, to be fair, it was already going down. It was already bad. It was already going down. It was already, I think it's something, let me see where it is. I believe it was 2/3. Yeah. So Cracker Barrel stock in April 2021 was selling for $175.09 a share, according to its market trajectory. Earlier this month, prior to any logo drama, it was selling for $57.27. And now, let me think. So the worst it was $37.33. And then I don't know, what does it say? Does it say how bad it went down after the logo announcement? It doesn't say, but it did. I know it went down. So it was already trending significantly downwards for, legitimate market reasons, such as, okay, COVID happens. You had a large uh, population of people who were regulars who were old. Obviously, old people got hit hardest in terms of COVID. And then also after that, I'm sure they got, scared to go out because, you had a year of them saying, if you go out, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. So probably a lot of those people did die, unfortunately. And then a lot of them who survived no longer want to go out. So, yeah, I mean, just general normal market forces. Just the way it goes. And then this stuff, so all the people that were going to Cracker Barrel who, braved the storm of the sniffles, now you're changing their stuff up. You're not even keeping the menu. Yeah, no. Okay, so you want to blow up this company, basically. These are terrible decisions. Anyone could tell you this. But, and you're trying to attract new people into Cracker Barrel. It's like, no, dude. Like, this is not going to work. Plus, it's expensive. It's expensive to do these rebrands, to do, hey, we're going to do big giant constructions on all of these properties. We're going to put new stuff in for all of them. Yeah, it's not going well. It's not going to make you money. You're going to lose more money. Your stock price is going to go even lower, and you're going to use up whatever revenue you're bringing in to try to make new these old stores that are not doing well and are not going to get better.
Good Morning America to do a little promotion of this, to talk about Cracker Barrel. This is definitely a paid spot.
Who was their focus group that they trialed this with? Like, who said, yes, this is better? Because find them and just remove them from the gene pool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who. It was this lady right here. It started and stopped with her right here. So let's go and see what she had to say.
That's,
Honestly,
probably
the
true.
feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and once every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feed.
Look at how interested. Oh, really? Really?
It looks
Michael's
awful. Like,
dubious.
They showed the inside of that Cracker Barrel like last week, and it
not
had
good.
like all soul removed from it. It was just bland fucking nonsense.
Oh,
Nobody likes it.
Yeah, we're going to get to that for sure. But I love kind of the corporate press, like his response here.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So
Oh, really? Wow, that's
really?
fascinating to me. Whoa. Okay.
because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Okay.
Casino. It's wonderful to have.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Okay.
just out of sheer morbid curiosity, just they're doing it all for their team members and everything, and all the people. By the way, their stock is down 10% today. So
Okay.
There's that. It's
So it
not
didn't-
gone very well.
I mean, again,
Since they
10%.
announced-
Yeah, 10% is a big deal, but also that's not, the last 4 years, it's dropped 60%. I mean, 10% drop is not is bad. But let's see, was this? Oh, this is trading over like a day.
This at all. And the response
good.
online has been outstanding. We'll get to that here very shortly. But this has been the CEO. Blas pointed out, she's not new. This lady's been around the block. She's been a part of this world for a while. Julie Fels Messina.
I don't know if that's true though. I mean, again, like certainly, like she's got the resume here, but obviously she wrote the resume, or her assistant wrote the resume, so she's going to try to make herself look good for these things. It's not actually an accurate representation of how she got into this position. It's entirely possible that she basically started as an executive assistant for somebody in one of these companies, and then basically just got a little bit more responsibility, as you do. But basically, hey, her roommate in college, their dad was like a vice president for Coach or Starbucks or something like that, right? And then you go, oh, hey, it's like, hey, I hear Julie needs a job. Oh, okay, well, Frank down in shipping needs an assistant. So we'll get in with her. And then it just kind of like goes from there. And the reason I say this again is because of this the Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. This does not scream high achiever to me. Okay. Obviously, she's CEO now, so was doing something right. But to me, this seems more like this person probably just got lucky. This person probably just got lucky and was in the right place at the right time to get brought into, some corporate job at a very high position, didn't work, didn't start down on the floor like in Amazon or something like that, and then rose while working their fingers to the bone and stabbing people in the back and all this, kind of normal corporate politicking that happens that gets you to the CEO position. No, this person just, it seems like probably got in at a very lucky time. And then, I'm not seeing any of these like Taco Bell. I don't think Taco Bell's ever been in trouble. Fisher Price Mattel. I don't think that's ever been a big. I don't think any of these Sprinkles Cupcakes, Starbucks. I can't think of any of these companies have been in like dire financial straits during this time period. So she probably never really had to do anything other than, hey, don't screw up. Don't spend a bunch of money that we don't have. Okay, cool, easy. I just have to not do anything. And you're good. Now she's put in charge of something that's like, in trouble. I don't think she has any track record of like rescuing failing companies. That takes a very different skill set and mindset. And clearly this person, doesn't seem to have it.
So, why, simple question to everybody. Why is it always white women?
Yeah.
Because they're a plague. That is the correct answer.
Nah.
Blabs, do you have an answer for that? Why is it always the white woman who's changing everything?
I mean, I don't really think that's the case. You can look at
Yeah.
Disney, right? CEO Bob Iger absolutely fucked it all up, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really agree with that.
Again,
although-
we already did the rant on this. That was the first 15 minutes of this stream. We'll be turning that into a video, though I did forget to hit record, so we'll have to do it at crappy quality, but whatever. We did it. I don't think it's, And again, I'm like, I don't think it's white women necessarily. I mean, it is, but it's just coincidental.
I could just probably say, if we wanted to agree with your statement, it could just be empathy.
Hello, fellow white women.
Which is
Abuse
fair.
of empathy. Yeah.
Okay, so allow me to counter that and say, when we've talked about empathy quite a bit, but behind every for your Bob Iger, I'll show you a Kathleen Kennedy.
But Bob agrees with everything. He's the top, so it's not like
You're right.
they're the same at all. She's below him.
It's also
so many
safe
ways.
to blame white women instead of, looking into things.
I think that's fair.
She's the top of the food chain here when it comes to this. But
And again, who put her in charge? She was not part of this company before. She got put into this position by, appointment to the company's board of directors. So, the board put her in there. Why? Well, because, she was president of Taco Bell and whatever. There's only so many of these people around. So you kind of just shop around for anybody who's maybe looking to move around. And the people that are really super valuable, Cracker Barrel probably couldn't afford, to save them. That'd be my guess.
they've also had a number of different initiatives at Cracker Barrel here. This is something that, hey, it's important to talk about these things, including inclusion at
Culture
Cracker Barrel.
and belonging.
That's right.
See, I was about to say, all of the global homogenization of the brand logos, I think, is part of a demoralization tactic, right? If there's nothing around you that's beautiful and there's nothing around you that stands out and has an individual identity and everything just kind of mishmashes together, it becomes reminiscent of what commie blocks are, essentially, right? Like they have that big brutalist arc.
I can understand that. I think who was this saying this? Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin. I think we're saying something very similar to this, in terms of like, what was it? In terms of like capitalism and these types of things. I don't necessarily think that's true. Like, I mean, it could be that it is, done specifically for demoralization, but my guess is these companies want to make money more than they want to, demoralize the population. And it just so happens that the way that they are approaching making money is to make everything as soulless, as non individualized as possible. Therefore, it appeals to the widest possible market. And also, there is no, if there's nothing individual or interesting about it, then there's nothing that people can latch onto and have grievance with. Like the old symbol, the old logo for Cracker Barrel, has a old white guy on it in overalls and these things. Now, it's just a person, in a certain form of dress, but you could certainly, if you focus tested that with enough people, someone in there is going to go, oh, I don't know, it just makes me feel like it's racist. It makes me feel like this is a racist organization. Okay, it's not. But because there is an individual element there, somebody can latch onto it and see something that's not there. And therefore, you have to eliminate every bit of possible, friction. And to do that, you end up with something that, all looks exactly the same and has no individual character. Because any character can eventually be kind of like construed to be, something bad if someone crazy enough sees it.
Architecture where everything looks similar to itself. And if everything has a similar identity, if nothing stands out, nothing is individualistic, that will sort of create in people's minds being individualistic is standing out, and standing out is bad. And it makes me feel like this is, with their stock tanking and everything, again, foregoing short-term profit for long-term cultural domination.
I don't know.
Craig, you're muted.
They will not be dominating. Thank you, Kirsten. They will not be dominating a whole lot, as people are not really happy with this change over here.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like we've seen with all of the other logos, nobody was happy with any of those logo changes, especially the larger brands, and they still happened, and nobody cared about the people who got angry afterwards.
Well, there's the ongoing. Thank you for these, Phoenix, right here. It's a wonderful B-roll.
Yeah.
Now, look, they've changed the logo, and there's been a lot of talk about that. I was actually. It's funny that they beat me to it, because I was actually looking forward to rolling out our rebrand, and it didn't work out. They beat us to it, which was unfortunate. So. Sorry, guys. We'll go back to the drawing board on this.
It needs to be red.
Well, I
I like it.
That, I wanted it to be orange and throw up color. That's what we're going for right there. So, but with the change in the logo from Cracker Barrel, a lot of people are upset about that. But I think there's a bigger thing to be upset about. One of the most iconic things at Cracker Barrel when you sit down to eat is the triangle peg game that you play.
Oh yeah.
That is at the table. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
This is what it looks like right here. You have a this triangle full of pegs, and here it has. You just got to jump over the different pegs, right? It says jump each tee and remove it. Leave only one, you're a genius. Leave two, and you're pretty smart. Leave three, and you're just plain dumb. Leave four or more, you're just plain ignoramus. Right there. So they're doing a little smart shaming for everybody.
Whenever I'm hanging with my crack, as I like to say, let's play with them peg and hole games.
That's
Hell
right.
yeah, buddy.
So they've changed this too, Kirsha, to lighten it up for everybody.
Oh my God.
This was the previous version. This is the new version here.
Okay.
At Cracker Barrel. It says, leave one, you're a genius. Leave two, rock in the chair, but not the game. Leave three or more. No reason to be embarrassed. Try again.
I hate the culture of like participation trophies. No, you're just dumb. Stop it.
Of all the things, this is what's got you most pissed.
This makes me upset, because it's like, no, you don't deserve a participation competition trophy. And if you get upset that a fucking wooden triangle called you dumb, get out of my restaurant. You don't deserve food.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, there's been, I love that pissed you off so much. I love everything about that. There's a few memes that have been passed around, which I very much appreciate. These you talked about the interior of the restaurant as well. I thought I kind of laughed at this. I don't know if this is parody or what, but either way, it is silly. Let's see what this guy had to say about it.
Is that?
Saw us on the internet. Dude said he ate in a remodeled Cracker Barrel and he hated it. And I want to join in on the hate.
He said cracker with a hard R.
Ooh,
Yes,
they've
it is
got
a
like the.
Cracker
Oh my
Barrel.
god, they've got like the old. What is that? I want to say like McDonald's tile, like the herringbone McDonald's Subway tile floor. Oh, bad.
Not a Cracker Barrel. All right, so this guy's gonna join in on the hate here.
Barrel and he hated it, and I want to join in on the hate. If the Cracker Barrel
bad.
don't look like the Jim Crow South, I can't eat there.
Yeah.
You gotta have the racism.
It's
Yeah.
pretty funny. I'm just.
If I don't walk into that restaurant and see imagery of black men in chains, I just can't eat my grits.
That's right, baby.
Racism aesthetic. You got to have the rocking chairs and the hint of segregation in the air.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm on the set of Sinners, then how do I know I'm in a Cracker Barrel? This is a gentrified Cracker Barrel. They done took all the character out of it, and I know the edges of the pancake ain't burnt. I gotta feel like somebody wants to say, "Good morning, boy," when I go in, with respect. And no respect at all. I feel like they want me to work there, but they don't want to pay me ever, and I've got to live there. That's Cracker Barrel's thing. Take that away. What is it?
What is it?
Denny's, IHOP, a place I don't want to be at.
Now, I kind of think he was perhaps actually lying, but also I think that guy's eaten at Cracker Barrel a couple times for sure.
I actually never thought about like Jim Crow or racism being
No,
in a
of course
Cracker
not.
Barrel. I was like, oh, this is just where like old white men like to eat soup.
I 100% agree. I never put Cracker Barrel and racism together.
Which is
ever,
why I
but
think
apparently
again I kind of think that guy was perhaps joking, being kind of like, oh yeah, look at all of the racism in Cracker Barrel, as if there was a lot. Like I don't say it.
that's a thing online to some people, but also saw this as well. This was a you
Okay.
remember the trend a few years ago where people would say, of course we're this, this is what we do, of course we're this, right? This is a quick response to what Cracker Barrel did a few years ago.
We're Cracker Barrel. Of course we serve breakfast all day.
We're Cracker Barrel. Of course we're going to know when you put a photo in the restaurant.
We're Cracker Barrel. Of course we have pay games on every table.
Listen, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Then of course the rebrand. Of course, this is a great imagery for this as well. Not the original logo, the one on the right. The for modern audiences here.
Oh my god.
Pretty much.
When was the last
Is that
time
for real?
you
Is that actually her? Is that actually, I forget, I don't remember her name, Hannah Montana? Is that actually what she looks like now? Someone needs to do some serious wellness check on that. I mean, that's bad. I mean, I think she shaved off her whole eyebrows. That's not helping. But then I'm assuming like Ozempic, just sucking all sort of like, muscle tone and fat out of your face, and then getting like cheek fillers and lip fillers to try to plump yourself back up. Oof. That is rough. That is rough. This is not good.
I gotta think like
Yeesh.
Bud Light was the last time we saw a brand do this much harm to itself so quickly, right?
I would say Bud Light was a lot worse. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm sticking to my guns from what I said earlier. We've seen a million other corporations globo homo their logos, and people get upset and they make content out of it for like maybe a couple of weeks to a month, and then everybody forgets about it, and then the logo goes on to be the same bland nonsense that they changed it to. They don't go back on it. And again, I do believe that these are the short-term losses that these companies are willing to forego. And
I don't know. The domination thing is, if there was more sort of like, I don't know if Cracker Barrel has a parent company. I don't know if they do. And is that, if they're all doing this in terms of like losing their short-term profits, they're corporations. If they're losing, their quarterly reports matter a lot. And I feel like these companies go under. And we've seen other companies like this that have, I don't know, tried to change things or whatever. And, they're out of business now. Like Red Lobster lost some short-term profits for long enough that guess what? There's no Red Lobster anymore. TGI Fridays is gone. It's bankrupt. Company's done. Company's out. Company's dead. Cracker Barrel is, heading in the same direction. And I guess this is just a Hail Mary. Now, for some of these corporations that are doing fine and then simplify their stuff and blandify it and all that kind of stuff, again, I think the better explanation is just the fact that, they're trying to remove any possible friction. And by doing that, they end up making their brand simplistic and bland and flavorless and characterless and soulless. And, maybe that demoralizes people and maybe that's good for them in the long term. And that's why they're not, worried about it when people get upset about it. But also, it's probably not actually hurting their profit margins. That'd be my guess.
In order to have a long-term cultural victory, and in order to stamp out individualism, right? Like this is part of it. All of these recognizable brands, all of these nostalgic brands, everything that makes you feel like comfortable or at home, they need to go. Everything needs to be cold and corporate and homogenous.
Man, there's a.
But the other side of that is, okay, if you wanted control over everybody, wouldn't having those brands like being nostalgic and, homey and all that kind of stuff, if you still have control over it, isn't that better? Because now it's like, oh, I'm retreating to my Cracker Barrel. That makes me feel like, I've come home and I've done this stuff. Even though it is just a corporate, soulless entity. If it makes you feel good, I feel like that's better, right? Like in terms of control, like that's how I would control a society is, through, an Aldous Huxley as opposed to like a George Orwell. I would think that would be a much more easily controllable society.
There's a lot there. Kongman Lee, who's been on the show here, I think he feels like a lot of people do, when it comes to this. He said this over on X. He says, "This has completely radicalized me against liberal women. I have no idea why, but they are on a perpetual quest to make everything in modern life stale, boring, and void of character. Disgusting." Over here.
You said he was on the show.
I mean, she's the face, but she's not the only company that's done this. And it's a very easy dunk to just be like, how could women? But it's not just women who've been doing this to logos. It's not just women who push global homogenization. And if we focus on like just one person, I think we're going to be missing a lot of other stuff that's happening that's not just the logos.
Well, Steak and Shake came in, and you've seen a lot of companies do this. They're starting to dunk on Cracker Barrel here.
Sure.
Steak and Shake came in and says, "This is what happens when you have a board that does not respect their historical customers or their brand. At Steak and Shake, we've gone back to the basics. Our tallow fries are waiting for you." Oh yeah, you can output Bitcoin right there. So of course
that's a nice advert for their company.
Yeah, phenomenal.
That's hilarious.
And you know what? They should probably take the points and dunk on everybody for sure. So I used to work as a manager on at Specs and had to ship back Bud Light. People did not buy enough to keep it on our shelves. Yeah, Bud Light went through a tough go for a while. People voted with their wallet, and we'll see.
I wanna see more things like Bud Light. Like voting with your wallet is a difficult thing to do. And it's something I've done personally for things like Starbucks. I stopped buying them many years ago. Ben and Jerry's, when they started getting crazy, I stopped buying them. But it's like I've never.
I will also say Ben and Jerry's. I don't know. Was that ever actually any good? Like you had a lot of like crazy flavors and stuff. I don't know if I ever remember getting one that was actually like a really good bit of ice cream. You know, like the only flavors that they ever had that were any good were like the most bare bones, basic ass stuff that they made. And they were overpriced for what they were. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think Ben and Jerry's was just like a psyop the whole time. They were never good.
Been under the delusion that like me as a single person can do something to a multi-billion-dollar company. And for voting with your wallet to work, you have to get like a massive group of people together to all agree to not patronize the business. And eventually you'll get people being like, I think like Tim Pool and even Kid Rock went back on it and they were like, oh, you know, it's time to forgive and forget, you know, like Bud Light, they've been through a lot. Let's go back and buy their beer, guys. And it's like, well,
I will also say this is the thing with Bud Light. I'm like, dude, do you realize Coors Light exists? Like, they're identical. Okay, unless you have them right next to each other, Coors Light and Bud Light, unless I'm crazy, they taste the same. They're both, you know, like watered down piss water. They're just, yeah, like they're flavorless bland. They're very refreshing. They're great on a hot summer day. If you're not trying to, you know, actually taste your beer, you just want something cold and refreshing. They're nice. But again, I'm like, I don't understand any kind of brand loyalty to Bud Light because it carries some special flavor to it. It's like, no, like, what else is the other one? Like Michelob Light or something? Like, whatever. Like a couple other Natty Light. They all taste the same. Okay? Just get whatever's cheapest on sale and is not, you know, spitting in your face for you liking a certain, you know, political party or, you know, historical tradition or something like that. So like, yeah, if you're going to buy Bud Light, just buy Coors Light. I can almost guarantee whatever liquor store you're going to is going to have both. Go for the one that, you know, does not hate you.
Well, why? They haven't shown that they learned anything. They haven't shown that they're going to change anything.
Yeah, no.
Why would you go back and patronize them? Right. And this is why, like, I like the vote with your wallet idea, and I like that it makes me, on a personal level, feel better to not give money to people who hate me. But in order for voting with your wallet to work, you need to get a lot of people together, and they have to stick to it. And I think that's the biggest problem, is a lot of people will forget, or they'll do it when it's trendy and they can get attention, and then they'll just start going back and buying stuff from there again.
The easiest way around that is just to not worry about everybody else and just go, what are my morals? What are my principles? I don't want to pay for this, the end. And you just hope that if everyone does that, that they'll do it. But otherwise, who cares? At least you're not contributing to that problem.
That's like kind of, I guess, where we would come in, right? Like, we have platforms. We can be like, hey, the more people do this, the more it's going to impact them. The longer we stick to it, the more damage it's going to do, and they'll have to respond. They won't be able to ignore it and just continue business as usual. And that
And I mean, this is the thing, like, it's one thing if you're trying to boycott something where it's like they're the only name in the game. With Bud Light and Cracker Barrel, they've got competitors, all right? Like, they've got competitors. If you don't like what they're doing, you can go somewhere else. You can easily, you know, vote with your wallet via, hey, I'm going to patronize Coors Light instead of Bud Light. And that's got to be, that's enough. That's easy. That makes no difference. You have to change nothing in your life except remembering to get the slightly different beer brand. You can go to a slightly different restaurant. Now, Cracker Barrel is a little bit different, but I mean, if they're going to change everything, then yeah, there's no reason to continue patronizing them.
That's what happened with Bud Light for a good period of time, and it was wonderful to see. And I think, like, I bring this up because it's like the biggest example that I have of it. Terra was a very, very small game, but to play it, a lot of people use something called Terra Toolbox. If you had high ping in Terra, you were just fucked. Like that, but the way the combat was, the higher your ping was, you just get fucked. So Terra Toolbox had something in it to simulate low ping. It would help you be able to play competitively, especially if you lived away from the servers and the data centers. And when Terra started, they had servers like on the West Coast, they had servers for Central US, and they had servers for Eastern US. But as the game got smaller and the population shrank, they consolidated that. And for a while, they only had a server like in Texas, and then they had it in Chicago. And then I think by the time Terra ended, they had it on the West Coast, but I might be misremembering. And so when people...
There's a lot of Terra lore. Do I know about this game? I suppose I know that it exists.
People started getting banned for using Terra Toolbox because there are things in Toolbox you can use that would be considered cheating. But when people got banned just for using it in general for like ping purposes, enough people stopped paying their subscription that En Masse Entertainment had to respond, had to unban people, had to say they wouldn't ban people for using Toolbox any longer. And it's great to see companies have to respond in that way when enough people come together and make a difference with not paying the company. But Terra was a very, very small scale game. Like it was probably a couple hundred people if I had to guess. So it was very...
And again, it's like, you know, do they have a parent company that's like propping them up?
Easy to do on a small scale, but making this large,
like with Bud Light, obviously Bud Light is, I want to say, you know, Budweiser just in general is like the largest portion of their stuff, but Anheuser-Busch is the parent company, and that's a huge, enormous company where they have tons of other stuff. So everybody boycotts Bud Light. Okay, great. Bud Light doesn't do well, but again, I'm guessing Budweiser just in general, that company probably took a hit. But Anheuser-Busch probably like was not as affected as like, you know, the Bud Light specific brand company.
Doing damage to companies that are worth billions of dollars, you need so many more than just a couple hundred.
Well, I think in this situation...
You do, but again, if those companies are worth billions of dollars, it's because they're spending like hundreds of millions, billions of dollars on a daily basis. And if their balance sheet gets screwed up, even for like, you know, a couple months or something like that, it's a real issue for them.
With, you know, obviously they're definitely taking a punch to the nose today, Cracker Barrel is. And you see that with their market cap and the publicly, you know, their publicly traded company. But yes, I think that's the big thing is, will Joe Blow, who's on a road trip with his family going from, you know, Tennessee to Texas, and they have an opportunity to stop, and there is a Cracker Barrel there versus a Chili's right here, or whatever, Cracker Barrel versus restaurant B, C, and D. Will they forego the country store vibe and go to the other restaurant because of this? And I don't know. I guess we'll see based off their earnings calls. But you make a move like this,
very likely.
Like this is the first time they've changed this in 48 years. This is an identity change from here. So if things don't go well, then, you know, we said, well, you can point to the white lady, right? Well, she's the one who's going to have to suffer the consequences.
She's going to eat it, yeah.
She's going to be the one who loses her job based off this.
I mean, even
probably will not actually affect her because, to be honest, you know, people at that level, the CEOs and these things, even if their company does blow up, again, this is not her company in a real sense of like, she doesn't have any real investments in it. Maybe she got stock options as the CEO, but my guess is she was just like, no, I'm just going to take a fat paycheck. And if the thing goes up, she'll find another job pretty easily, to be honest.
If they do that, I don't think anything would change, right? Like, if people are angry enough, the company will be like, oh, well, she's an easy fall guy. We can get her to resign, and everyone will feel like they won, but we're not going to change anything.
Potentially, yeah.
That's what useful idiots are for. They're there to be expendable in your war.
Well, we've seen that. I mean, let's see. So Land O'Lakes hasn't changed their logo back. What was the... there was the
Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, Aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima, like the actual family descended from that lady. They didn't want it changed.
No.
So it went against the family's wishes as well.
Have you seen there's a push now to reinstate the Washington Redskins logo. No, they're now the Commanders, and like apparently it's the same type of situation.
I think I have seen something like that. Say they were like the Chiefs.
Family of the relative of the guy who was initially the logo for the Washington Redskins football team. They're like we want this. We want him to be the logo. It represents our heritage and stuff, not this Commander stuff. And like nobody talked to them. They were just listening to the people complaining online about it. So between them and the Cleveland,
like
I guess
two
they're
people.
The Guardians now. They used to be the Cleveland Indians, one of the most iconic baseball teams in America. You know, they rebranded a couple of years ago, and people hated that.
What about Indian motorcycles? Did that ever get rebranded?
So, but you know, once again, are people not going because of it? Are they not buying, you know, Guardians stuff? Are they not buying, you know, like I'm sure there's a couple of guys who don't want to go, but ultimately, like if your team's good, they're going to support them.
And it's like
but I mean, some of that's true, but also a lot of it is just like, hey, like, are you buying our merch? Yeah, it's not as cool. You know, I'll watch your stuff because you're the team in my city. But am I going to buy all the, you know, Commanders merch? No, probably not. Because you just said that, you know, all of that buying stuff that I have, like for all the Redskins stuff, is worthless now and racist, and I'm an evil person for having it. So you know what? I'll probably just like, I'll stand back and not buy any of your stuff because, you know, 5 years down the line, maybe this stuff is evil and racist.
Another thing with like erasing brand identity is it's a way to rewrite history. If you erase brand identity, not that like brands make history, but if you erase the identity, you can then reimagine how those companies came to prominence, and people aren't going to have anything to easily look at and be like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. You know, it's kind of like I did a deep dive recently on how transgender activists are trying to change history for what happened at Stonewall. They're trying to claim that the gay crossdresser was actually a transgender person, and they're like taking him and using him as the person who started it when it was actually like a butch lesbian black woman, if I'm remembering correctly. And so it's like when they change these identities and people forget what the foundations were, it's going to be easier to rewrite things.
That's interesting. And you are seeing that now a lot. The people who are complaining about history being rewritten are the ones who are doing their best to rewrite history to their liking.
Well, yeah, they accuse you of what they're doing, because if they accuse you of the things that they do, they can paint you as a bad person. And it's how, like, they can get away with lying and being radical while calling you like a white supremacist or a Nazi, because those are more damaging and more dangerous terms. And so as long as they're obfuscating the things that they're doing that are fascist and authoritarian and paint you as that.
Okay, I like that. Voice inside brutalist building. Alpha Retus escape. Bring me 4 YouTubers with attitude.
You're going to lose opportunity. You're going to lose money. You're going to be ostracized, and they can keep doing exactly what they're doing to win the culture.
Well, we'll see if people vote.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So then after this, I want to try to make a video out of this as well. I'm going to actually hit record this time. All right. If you haven't heard about the Destiny situation, Legal Mindset over here is going to give you and me a little bit of an education on the actual issues that Destiny might be facing. As I said in my previous video, it does not look good. It looks very bad. One person had commented, I don't think there is any defense for statutory, you know what? But I'm not entirely sure. I think he touches on something along those lines in this video in terms of, if you don't know, if you're not aware, if you believe that something is legal, but it's illegal, sometimes that is an actual defense, sometimes it's not.
Streamer Destiny may be legally trapped as we look at this new scandal, and we're turning to what may be criminal charges. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. This Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. Of course, it's a fast facts version, giving you the quick and dirty.
Your own judge. I would hope you would be your own lawyer, because being your own judge, you know, you're probably not going to be in a position to judge stuff. But you could easily be in a position to defend yourself.
In the latest of legal news. If you like this version, if you like the fast facts, make sure you like the video and leave a comment on the video below. So as always, we have a nice PowerPoint.
I'm doing even better. I'm making a video about your video.
Point for you here today to kind of walk you through this situation with Destiny. Now, once again, I'm going to give a content warning because this is once again a very serious topic. Unfortunately, I've been covering some very serious topics lately that involve deep materials and deep subjects that can be sensitive to some people. So if you are very sensitive to this thing and anything involving explicit materials involving minors, this might not be the topic for you. I'm going to refer to it as CSAM. I know people like to use the Q.
Now, what does CSAM mean? Streamer Destiny issues statement amid recent allegations. Twitch streamer and political commentator Stephen Destiny has addressed allegations made by YouTuber Willie Mac Show against him of possessing inappropriate content involving an alleged minor. Destiny has since responded to the allegation and has claimed no CSAM, abuse material. Okay, that makes sense. Was present on his computer. The United States Department of Justice defines CSAM as any visual depiction of explicit conduct involving a person less than 18 years old. Responding to an allegation that he possessed 60 gigabytes worth of CSAM through an X post made on August 23rd, 2025, Destiny wrote, "I have no CSAM on my computer. I've only complied with my legal obligations for my court cases. The 60 gigabyte screenshot was related to a claim the Rose person made, someone whose name and birthday I have yet to even be reliably confirmed." Okay.
Cheese pizza stuff, and it's good enough for an emoji or something else somewhere, but I'm going to use CSAM because that's the professional designation.
Oh, it is. Okay.
And it just talks about it in a more professional way, so that's what I try to go for on my channel. Please be respectful in both the live chat and in the comments below, and I would deeply appreciate that, as this has affected many people, and this is something that really is truly hurtful to a large percentage of the world population.
Yeah, not good.
So let's go into the introduction. First of all, I previously covered his ongoing civil lawsuit, so you can check out my previous
Okay, so that's the lawsuit that he is referring to here, and the previous video that I mentioned
for that information. However, this does relate and not relate to his ongoing lawsuit with Pixie. Of course, this will be information that Pixie's lawyers will be very interested in getting at, and there'll be all sorts of twists and turns. But what I'm going to really focus on today is the latest controversy and the legal issues presented. So I'm not focusing on the inter-streaming drama. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to bring up, Saint Piker in this one. Right? It really doesn't have anything to do with him or what Ethan Klein thinks or anybody else. It really has to do with Destiny and the legal hot water that he's put himself into. So that's our focus today. And the last thing I'm going to say, and I've said this before, is like with all of my videos, I have no personal bias or anything for or against Destiny. And frankly, I don't care how this turns out. So
I don't think that's totally true. I think he's probably not going to basically say, I have a position on this person and therefore I hate them. And also that means that I'm going to, bias my recommendations and my legal expertise on this. But yeah, like Saint Piker, come on, you've got some bias. You're human.
So it really isn't something that I'm for or against. And what I want to say is, if you're a fan of Destiny, if you're a Destiny fan who's tuning in to watch this,
have no personal bias for or against Destiny or for how this plays out, my guess would be you have no personal bias for how this plays out, other than hoping that, justice is done.
Right. Please watch this with an open mind, because this both presents the challenges, the things he stepped in, as well as, hey, what can he do moving forward? Because at this point, you're at where you're at. So what do you do? So listen to it with an open mind, whether you're for or against Destiny, whatever side you're on, just try to focus on the law and what is objective in here, because all of this is really objective information. So let's get into explaining the controversy. Now, you guys can go over, watch this 4-minute video. I reported Destiny to the police by Willie Mac. If you want to see the whole video, I'll have it on my live version. You can watch the whole thing there. But as a quick summary, on this expose video, the streamer Willie Mac contacted Destiny when Rose seemingly was confirmed as underage. She was confirmed on a third party as being underage at the time, and when explicit materials being shared with her. So this girl is underage and receiving explicit material. That's not something that's good. So they were talking, and as part of that voluntary conversation, once again, Destiny chose, this is a big deal, He voluntarily engaged with Willie. There was no legal obligation. This was not a deposition. This was not something that was required by any court of law. This is something he did because he just wanted to talk. He just wanted to get it out there. And this is a very common problem for streamers.
Now, was this guy... Now, again, I mean, I don't know if the Willie Mack and Destiny conversation is live. It was recorded, was shared, was, done publicly, or if it was just, a conversation between two parties. If it was between two parties and this guy recorded it, it's the same thing as, you voluntarily commented. It's just not necessarily public.
Because they often talk about stuff and get themselves in a hot water. And that's exactly what happened here today. Destiny voluntarily commented, likely without consulting his lawyer. I'm almost certain that he did not talk to his lawyer before he talked to Willie Mack. And he shared a video where Rose, apparently, according to all the data, appeared to be underage at the time. Therefore, he shared an adult video. Of course, a piece of it. He didn't share the actual video file itself, but he had the file name and he had a top of the video where she was underage, and stated, hey, yeah, I've got this. I've still got this information. I've got this on my computer, right, where this girl is apparently a minor. Therefore, this would be what would appear to be CSAM. I've got that on my computer. And Destiny's defense to that, his kind of pushback when he was questioned by Willie was, oh, I have a legal duty. I have a legal obligation to preserve evidence. So, of course, Willie turned around and then reported Destiny to the police, in addition to making a video, forming a video, which I'll put in the description below. So what happened afterwards? Well, of course, Destiny goes and fights back. He goes and comments back, saying almost everything at DM is wrong. Willie Mack is running cover. He goes in on Ethan Klein. He goes in on Hassan. He says he has no CSAM on his computer. I've only complied with my legal obligations for my court cases.
Which is where this is from?
The 60 gigabyte screenshot was read to a claim that Rose made. Someone whose name and birthday have yet to be reliably confirmed. Well, I think that's where the problem is. It seems like that indeed has been confirmed, according to sources out there. And
that's my reading of it as well, is that, this is, as far as we can tell, not only because, these sources have gone in, looked into it, and they seem to have identified the right person, and their evidence is pretty good to say that, this person was 17 at the time, and the person, this Rose person in question, then went on to delete everything that they had, which does make it seem like they got the right person. It's not for sure, but it does seem to be the case.
If those sources are correct, if those sources have indeed pulled up the right information, then it appears that if that is confirmed, that would indeed be CSAM. So he may be asserting that it's not based on a mistake of fact, which we'll talk about today. However, that can entirely change things legally. So let's get into how this splices legally.
Okay.
So preservation of evidence. So channel fans and you guys out there know the term. You're big fans of my channel. You know the term. Spoliation. You guys know about that. I've
Spoliation or spoilation? Is that misspelled?
taught you that because it comes up time and time again with people deleting evidence.
He has it here. So I guess.
I talked about that in the Ethan Klein
Correct.
case with the Reddit and Discord mods trying to delete stuff, right, or hide stuff, or Denims or anybody else trying to hide stuff. That would be spoliation. If they're trying to delete evidence, hide evidence, that is a problem, because once a lawsuit starts, whether it's civil or criminal, does not matter. You have a duty to preserve evidence, and that applies to all evidence, physical, digital, anything relevant to the case. That's very broad. Right? Anything relevant broadly, you have to preserve. So any attempt to hide or punish or destroy that evidence, anything that's relevant, and you try to hide it or destroy it, you can be punished by the court, including criminally, for trying to hide or destroy evidence. And so Destiny, when he said he has a legal duty, and listen up, Destiny fans, Destiny is right about that. But however, he's sort of right about that, and he's forgetting about all those other duties that are out there and all those other responsibilities. He's forgetting about privilege, and this is where I think he did not talk to his lawyer, because if his lawyer knew he was going to have this conversation, he would have certainly said no, because it made his job a living hell. Let's talk about that. So let's talk about candor to the tribunal. A lot of people know about attorney-client privilege. If you watch Breaking Bad, with Saul Goodman, put $1 in my pocket, engage confidentiality. And attorney confidentiality is strong. It's very strong.
Yeah.
But it's not unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
There is supposed to be, theoretically, a balance. Now, of course, I will say this too. Different lawyers are different and take different ethical stances on what is confidential and what they need to disclose to the court. But you actually need to.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought there was like some actual like basic legal recourse if you broke it like for any reason.
Balance what's called candor to the tribunal, which means confidentiality is on one side and candor to the tribunal, the court, on the other side. You have to be honest with the court. As a lawyer, you can't lie to the court. If you know you are lying, you cannot do that. So
yeah, I did know that.
Duty to report facts such as criminal behavior, criminal conduct, or fraudulent conduct, perjury, fraud to the court. All of these things you have to report. So if this
is very similar to the sort of like confidentiality that you'd have with like a psychiatrist or a counselor or a therapist or psychiatrist, something like that, where anything you say is under client-patient confidentiality. However, there are exceptions to this. If you're saying that you're planning on hurting someone or yourself, they now have a duty to report you to the police, to some authorities, to make sure that this doesn't happen. Confidentiality goes out the window.
Lawyer knows you have to report it, and that's the key there, right? That's the key. The lawyer does not have to report mere suspicion. So if you only suspect something, you don't have to report that. But if you actually know it, if you know it's true, you're like, I know this as a fact.
I wonder if lawyers are capable, if they have suspicion, if they have mere suspicion, or if they have like reasonable suspicion, can they? Because my view of like, the confidentiality stuff is like they not only, don't have to, they can't reveal this stuff.
You do have to report that.
Like they could lose their license. I don't know if that's true.
So the problem is, are you seeing the problem here? This moved from something his lawyer may have suspected because we do or don't know this person's age to, oh yeah, this person was factually underage. Therefore, this is factually CSAN. That completely changes the dynamic from something the lawyer might not have to report because he doesn't know one way or another to something he'd say, well, now we've got to talk about this. Now we've got to disclose this to the court. It's a mandatory disclosure. It's no longer an elective disclosure. That's a problem. That's a big problem for the lawyer. The other problem is we've got privilege. So any information that had been protected by attorney-client privilege, that super strong privilege, you can throw lawyers in jail and they don't have to break attorney-client privilege. That duty is absolutely waived when you speak to a third party, when you disclose to a third party. Now, there's a difference between inadvertent, accidental, and intentional disclosure. If you accidentally leak something, if it was something that, oh my God, I faxed somebody something, I should have faxed them that. Okay, you might get away. Who uses a fax anyways? Well, the Japanese do. It's a Japanese thing, guys. Trust me, I'm in Asia. But you accidentally send something over an accidental email, whatever else, that may still apply, right? There's no guarantee. You might have waived that privilege, right? It's possible you still waive it, but there's an argument that the attorney-client privilege is preserved. However, if you leak information intentionally, privilege is lost forever. So here's the issue. He spoke to Willie Mack voluntarily. There was no obligation. There was no court order. There was no gun to his head. There's no duress. There was no money. There was no nothing else. There's nothing going on here, right? There wasn't any sort of situation where this could be argued as an inadvertent disclosure. This was an intentional disclosure.
Yeah, very clearly that's the case. And again, I mean, I don't know, man. It seems really stupid. Even if this William Actually guy is a completely bad actor, well, then you shouldn't have talked to him, you dumbass.
Fully intentional. There's no way this was not voluntary. So that's the problem. All the privilege on this is waived now. So all of, for example, talking about Pixie and that lawsuit, they can come after that because there's no privilege on that anymore. That's just wide open. So let's talk a little bit more about applying this to the law. Let's talk about mistake of fact. So Destiny argues that he lacked the mens rea, right? He lacked the intent to commit the crime because he had an honest and reasonable misunderstanding of a factual circumstance at the time of the act. That's the defense of mistake of act. This is a defense that comes up particularly to specific.
And this is like what I would say with the statutory allegation, where it's like, okay, there's no defense. There is a defense if this person, I didn't know. I had no idea. Well, let me see. Let me see if this is actually true.
Specific intent crimes. So the best example was, let's say you had a very expensive jacket. Let's say it's a designer jacket, and you picked up a jacket you're in a place that's cold, so you have to put when you come in the winter, you put your jackets up front and you take somebody else's jacket. Maybe it's their Canada Goose jacket, whatever it is. I don't know what's trending nowadays, but you take their expensive jacket and it's not yours. Well, that's a true mistake of fact. You did not know it was identical. It was a genuine, honest mistake. It's a reasonable mistake, a reasonable, regular person can make. You're not going to go to jail for that, typically, right?
Typically.
However, that's only
unless the person's like a judge or something like that. Then you're going to jail.
For certain types of crimes. So there are certain types of crimes called strict liability. So most, but not all, criminal charges related to CSAM are strict liability. And what that means is with strict liability.
Okay, here we go.
Strict liability means your state of mind does not matter. So your specific intent does not matter. Now, that's not all charges. Some of them, it does related to CSAM, some of it doesn't. There's other lawyers, shout out to some of my friends out there in LawTube that have gone over the long list of potential crimes. There are some that don't require it and some that do. Right? It's a mix, and it's really up to prosecutors what they're thinking about, what they go for. That's not in the control of any streamer. It's not in control of Ethan Klein or Hassan or anybody else. It's in the control of the prosecutors to decide, hey, how are we gonna go after Destiny? If we go after Destiny, that's up to them. And mistake of fact and mistake of law defenses typically do not work for strict liability crimes. They typically are not a defense. However, there are exceptions. Of course, there's a very complex and specific area of law. There's lawyers that dedicate their entire career just to this. I am not one of them, but I will give you an overview of some of the defenses that Destiny might bring up. So, of course, there's two main ones he might bring up. The first one is, of course, not having intent, and that would block anything with specific intent.
I mean, like, what is the intent? To not possess it? Will you possess it? I mean, so you have to, like, you would have to have intent to keep it if you kept it.
So saying, hey, I genuinely believe this person was an adult, not a child, and argue I don't have the intent to possess or distribute. So a lot of the possession or distribute statutes might involve some specific intent to distribute. So, okay, I don't have the intent to distribute, so it's not going to be a distribution charge.
Right.
The other one is negating the element regarding child. So there's usually language saying, okay, this is a child. So even if it doesn't require specific intent, it requires that person be a child. So if you say, hey, I honestly didn't believe they were a child, you would negate that element of the crime, even if it isn't specific intent. I know it sounds complicated, but it's just taking out that one little piece.
Yeah.
Once again.
Now, it sounds like if you take out that one piece, the whole element, the whole crime disappears because you need both of them. It's an and statement, not an or statement.
Not guaranteed, not foolproof. Not something you can necessarily get away with. I'm just saying and presenting out there, as always, professionally, hey, here's the attack, here's the defense, right? And it doesn't look good for Destiny. This does not look good. So my conclusion is Destiny is certainly now under criminal scrutiny.
I said that as well. Yeah, certainly seems like, I don't know if he's going to get arrested, but certainly, I would imagine there's an investigation going on.
Absolutely. There's been a report. So law enforcement is looking into it. Absolutely.
Unless Willie Mac show guy was lying about the report.
Without a doubt. And this is in addition to his civil case. So this has gone from something that is purely civil to something that is now potentially criminal. He gains nothing debating with people on the internet. And as much as I can tell him, and I'll probably make a short or something else like that, hey, look, this isn't useful. I mean, that's factual. I say it all the time. I put out the meme there on X, shut up, shut up, shut up. He probably won't, because that's his MO and that's what he's been doing for the longest time.
Definitely.
But that really isn't going to help, because it's not up to Willie Mack anymore. It's not up to Hassan or Ethan or anybody, or myself even. Arguing with me doesn't really help. The only thing that helps is to fully disclose information to his lawyer, stop talking.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely don't give any other interviews, and possibly engage a specialist lawyer. But even doing all that, there's no guarantee, and Destiny is certainly in for a very bumpy ride. I don't know what you guys think about this in the comments below. And
yeah, same here. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Was this reasonable? Have you seen this guy before? Hopefully none of you have seen this guy before, and I'm sending more traffic his way. That's my intent with this. And then also, I did just want to go over this in case any of the people who would watch that video hadn't seen this one, and you could get slightly more educated alongside me. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Good luck in all your endeavors. I'll say farewell for now. All right, and we stop recording. Delightful. Okie dokie. That's all of that. Now we want to get into Deus Ex. Doink. Doink, doink. I hate that I have to toggle this every time. It's super annoying. But it is what it is. All right, let's hit you, hit you, hit you, you to you. Oof, okay, that's bad looking. Okay, so we do 1600 by 900. This should give me widescreen. Excellent. And, oh, perfect, even fits better. Excellent. All right, so this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy about this. Let me go to previous menu. All right, new game. Now I am doing a new game as opposed to continuing with what we were doing before for a couple reasons. First of all, I wanted to get the baton, which apparently is like I missed and you can't get it any other way. So I just completely missed the possibility to get it, which sucks, and I'm not going to deal with that. Then there is the other aspect that the revision, which is what we were playing, has a bunch of like changes, and I'm like, no, I don't want to play your interpretation of what Deus Ex should be. I want to play the Deus Ex game. So we will do new game, running through the training mission. Would you like to do this now? You know what, I think maybe yes, depending on what the training mission is. All right, UNATCO training facilities.
I figured you'd be sick of drills by now.
There we go.
Hopefully.
Oh. The hell? Holy shit, how am I this fast? Why am I this fast? Why am I that fast? That is insane. What the hell?
Open the door by clicking.
Okay, what's going on here? It's like this is getting played at... Oh, maybe it's getting played at super high. Oh, yeah. It might be getting played at super insanely high. Game options, subtitles, 3D, timeout. It might be being played. This sucks. If I can't get it to work, I'm not going to do it, but I mean... Yeah, I might have to go back. I really don't feel like doing that. All right, let me go to previous menu. Let me go to new game, medium, good. I don't really care. Maybe we can get this to work. If I can't get it to work, I'm gonna... I don't want to play any extra. You know? All right, low tech, upgrade. Yeah, I don't want to basically do anything more than I have to. Let's go 1,000, nice. let's start game.
Your appointment to FEMA should be finalized within the week. I take it he was agreeable. He didn't really. Has he been? Oh yes, most certainly. When I mentioned that we could put this.
It's the frame rate. I'm thinking.
Heads up, JC. Your brother Paul is on his way to meet you at the dock. The NSF is raiding the island and shots have been fired. I repeat, find Paul. I will monitor your situation.
Okay, monitor your situation. It's like, no, there's definitely something going on here. Interesting. Okay, so this is actually.
Welcome to the coalition, JC.
Oh, what the hell?
Might as well start using your code name. Didn't think you'd have a choice.
Okay, no, we're not doing it. No. Nope. It's getting screwed up. It's getting all screwed up. My guess is it's got something to do with the frame rate. It's running at a higher frame rate, and therefore, the frame rate is tied to the timing in the game. That'd be my guess. So I'm gonna have to fix that. All right, which means we're gonna have to stop. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. All right.